let's dive straight into this explainer and completely decode the massive, game-changing 2026 Formula One regulations. We're going to translate all of this into plain English. You know, whether you're a totally new fan just tuning into the sport or a seasoned veteran trying to wrap your head around the upcoming season, you've probably realized that literally everything is changing. We are looking at a complete, ground-up reset of the cars, the engines, the speeds, and even the tires. So my goal for you today is to cut right through all the dense engineering noise and give you a crystal-clear breakdown of exactly what is going to happen out on the track.
If you've been hearing confusing new jargon getting thrown around, words like super clipping or X mode, and feeling kind of overwhelmed, stick with me, because we are going to put you right in the driver's seat to figure this all out. By the end of this explainer, you're going to understand the intense, strategic chess match happening inside the cockpit just as well as the race engineers sitting on the pit wall.
The rule makers at the FAI really aren't exaggerating here. This is an absolutely massive reboot of how these cars are built, powered, and raced. In the past, F1 might have tweaked just the aerodynamics one year or maybe just the engines another, but for 2026, they've fundamentally redesigned the entire car as one cohesive system. The goals are simple, but ambitious. Closer racing, real environmental sustainability, and putting the pressure of managing the car's performance squarely back onto the driver's shoulders. So we've got to start with this staggering number. We're talking about a leap in electrical power from 120 kilowatts in the old cars straight up to 350 kilowatts for the new era. To put that into perspective, the traditional gas-powered part, the internal combustion engine, has been simplified and they actually ripped out that hugely complex heat recovery system entirely. To make up for it, F1 essentially tripled the kinetic energy recovery system. It is a massive leap in electrification that completely rewrites how these cars accelerate out of a corner.
To make all that new power shine, F1 introduced what they're calling the nimble car concept. For years, the cars have been getting heavier and bulkier, right? Well, they are finally reversing that trend. They're stripping 30 kilograms of weight off the car, shrinking the wheelbase by 200 millimeters, and narrowing the whole thing by 100 millimeters. This means these machines are going to be visibly smaller, much lighter, and way more agile when they're darting through tight, low-speed hairpins. It is all about making the cars raceable, wheel-to-wheel, once again.
And you know, even the tires are going on a diet to help the cars become more nimble. While they are keeping those big 18-inch rims we've all gotten used to, the actual rubber itself is shrinking. They're taking 25 millimeters off the front and 30 millimeters off the rear tires. Less rotating mass and a smaller physical footprint mean significantly less aerodynamic drag, and shedding that drag is absolutely crucial for maximizing top speeds under the new engine rules.
Now let's talk about the power unit right behind the driver's head. It is now a true 50-50 split. It's almost like strapping a high-tech hypercar battery to a traditional screaming racing engine. When you combine that combustion engine with the insanely upgraded electrical system, it punches out a combined output of right around 1,000 horsepower. But here's the catch. Because half of that power is now coming from a battery, energy management is suddenly the absolute most critical skill a driver can have. You literally can't just mash the throttle anymore. You have to constantly think about exactly where your power is coming from.
What's super interesting here is that the combustion half of that power is now running on 100% drop-in sustainable fuels. That means zero fossil fuels will be burned on the track. Formula One is using this era as a high-speed laboratory to pioneer green technologies that could totally end up in the normal road cars you and I drive every day. Plus, it's a performance-neutral mandate. Every single manufacturer has to solve the sustainable fuel puzzle equally, which adds a fascinating engineering battle to the 2026 grid.
Section 1. Anatomy of a lap. Translating the jargon. Okay, let's head out to the track and see how all these pieces build into an actual race lap.
So aerodynamics are no longer static. Drivers now have dynamic wings that actively change shape while they are literally flying around the circuit at top speed. In previous years, F1 cars were just glued to the track by these massive fixed wings, which caused incredible drag. Now, both the front and rear wings are actively managed, shifting their angles to give the car exactly what it needs at the exact split second it needs it. The crucial takeaway here is the transition between Z mode and X mode. Z mode is the default, closed position. They use it to grip the track tightly through the corners. But then, the second they hit a straightaway, they manually flatten those wings out into X mode. Boom. Flaps open, they shed up to 40% of the car's aerodynamic drag and rocket down the straight. But for safety, the second they tap the brakes or lift off the throttle, the wings instantly snap right back into Z mode. It's this continuous, live aerodynamic dance.
Now combine that active aero with those 50-50 engines. Imagine you're the driver chasing down a rival on the final straight.
You hit the boost button to manually unleash all that stored electrical energy. It's an override right on the steering wheel. You can use it offensively to attack the car ahead, or use it defensively to keep a chasing car firmly in your rearview mirror. It gives drivers total tactical control to drop maximum power right where they have the best advantage.
And it gets better. If you manage to sneak within 1 second of the car in front of you, you unlock overtake mode. This hands you a massive extra burst of energy, an additional 0.5 megajoules, allowing you to sustain top speeds up to 337 kilometers per hour without the engine power tapering off at all. It is a wildly potent offensive weapon.
When you compare the old DRS system to this new overtake mode, the shift is pretty mind-blowing. Overtaking used to be kind of a passive waiting game, right? You waited for the DRS zone, your wing opened up, and you just drove past. But now, because everybody can use active aero on the straights, overtake mode shifts the battle into a fierce, strategic energy war. It's no longer just about having less drag, it's about having more raw electrical firepower in the bank than the guy next to you. Section 2. The art of the recharge. Because honestly, deploying all that amazing electrical power is completely useless if you don't know how to get it back. Over the course of a single lap, drivers can recover a maximum of 8.5 megajoules of energy, and they do it through a 3-step process. First, the car automatically harvests energy the second they hit the brakes for a corner. Second, the driver can manually lift off the throttle early, which is known as lift and coast, to regenerate power, though doing that disables their low-drag aero. And third, well, there's a brand new technique invented just for this era.
And here is the answer to that question we asked at the very beginning. Superclipping. It's when a driver sacrifices just a tiny fraction of their top speed at the very end of a straight to bank crucial electrical energy for the next lap. But the genius is, they do this while keeping their foot flat on the gas and their active aero fully open. It is a razor-thin balancing act of trading immediate speed right now for tactical power later on.
Now, why does all this engineering jargon matter to you sitting at home? Because F1 has embraced radical transparency. Everything we just talked about is going to be broadcast live on your TV graphics. F1 chose absolute transparency over engineering mystique. You are going to see exactly when a driver smashes the boost button, exactly when they unlock overtake mode, and you'll see when they are desperately trying to recharge their battery.
And as this point beautifully highlights, drivers literally cannot make excuses anymore. In the past, if someone lost a spot, they'd hop on the radio and complain about degraded tires or a bad aero setup. Not anymore. If they burn all their electrical energy too early in a lap or totally mess up their active aero timing, the entire world is going to watch it happen on the telemetry in real time. It forces absolute, undeniable accountability.
So, as we dive headfirst into this thrilling new era, it leaves us with one massive, lingering question about who is actually going to dominate the 2026 grid. With smaller cars, dynamic shape-shifting wings, and this massive reliance on tactical energy management, raw speed alone just isn't going to cut it anymore. The champions of this new era are going to be the drivers who have the immense mental bandwidth to manage all of these complex systems flawlessly, all while battling wheel-to-wheel at 200 miles per hour. So what do you think? Will the fastest car win or the smartest driver? Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and enjoy the phenomenal racing we've got ahead.